Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and the podcast. Sal Vetri here, and today we're doing a mock draft, 2020 mock draft with the rookies too. So this is the first time I'm going to be doing a mock draft. It's a best ball format. It's on drafters.com if you want to check it out. But first time doing a mock draft with the rookies actually in it for the 2020 fantasy football season. We're having some people filter in right now through the community, whether it's the Discord or Twitter. So be sure, if you want to get into one of these, it's all people in the community. So I'll have links down below to where you can access them. But yeah, we're going to be recording one of these usually on a weekly basis. So be sure to check them out. But I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited to see what these rookies kind of look like in the mock draft format in terms of their ADP, especially for best ball, where if you're not familiar, you want to be shooting for somewhat of a ceiling as well in these players. And you care about the floor as always, but not as much in these best ball formats if you can sacrifice some of that floor, some of that stability in points each week for the weeks where you'll get the big booming upside weeks like a Tyreek Hill. Those types of players will be a little bit more valuable in this format because it takes your highest scoring players. You don't have to worry about setting a bench or trading or dropping. Once you draft, you're set for the entire season, which is nice about starting so early. If you think you have an edge on some things, you can get some really valuable players later in the rounds. So I just opened up the draft. You can see the timer on the board right there. It's going to start in about 3 minutes. But before it does start, I just want to say if you can hit the subscribe button, I greatly appreciate that. These videos are going to reach a new audience since they are geared towards the fantasy football season. And normally we're going to pick up some subscribers when a new season comes through. So if you have not yet seen my content, or maybe you have and you haven't hit that subscribe button, please be sure to do that. It allows me to continue to produce this content. How does it do that, you might say? Well, the more people that hit the button, the more people that get to see the videos. YouTube shows it to more people, which allows me to have more exposure out there, lets me put out these videos and actually spend time doing it and actually being paid for it in some sort of way. So you can see in this mock draft right now, I'm actually being drafted and choosing fourth. So I actually do like that spot. It puts me in a situation where I feel really secure getting one of the top 5 best ball type players, but I'm just one spot off. If I was in that third spot, I'd feel even better about security when you're factoring in injuries, right? Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, and Zeke, I feel pretty secure about them. I know Saquon has had some issues in college, and the same exact high ankle sprain last year kept him out a little bit, but I'm not as worried about that with the running backs as Dalvin Cook's having 10 missed games in his past, or really 17 missed games in his past few seasons. So I do think that those are the 4 main players that you do want to target when you're in that top 5 range, and Michael Thomas starts to come into question, especially in best ball formats where the drop-off from Thomas to the next wide receiver each week could be massive compared to the running backs drop-offs, but I am going to be probably picking with that top 4 pick, one of these running backs. But we'll see how the board lands. Maybe we'll get Saquon or Zeke to drop to us at 4. That'd be really nice. We'll be going through this whole draft. It's only going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. It's on fast picks. So the format is PPR format. It is best ball. You have 2 flex spots in your starting lineup. And what best ball does is it takes the best positions in your lineup. So if you draft 3 quarterbacks, whoever scores the most that week will count in your lineup. It'll fill out your lineup with 2 running backs, usually 2 receivers, usually a tight end unless you make the settings 2 tight ends, 2 flex players for this league, and a quarterback. No defenses, no kickers. We don't need any of that garbage in this league. All right, so we got about 20 seconds now until this thing kicks off. I'm pretty excited about this. I see some people over here chatting in one of my group chats that I'm in about this right now, so it's pretty exciting. I know it's very early. It's still right now the beginning of May, but I do like getting ahead of it to feel confident in where I am in my process. Instead of starting a process over July or God forbid August for somebody like myself, I like having as much information as possible so that I always know that I'm ahead of really just every other person that can potentially be in either my leagues or even in the industry. If I get invited to any expert leagues, I feel really good about where I am. So you can see right now the draft just started. I assume Christian McCaffrey in all formats should be going first off of the draft board. So let's actually see how it does indeed play out here. You have on the clock right now for another 5 seconds. So these are quick rounds right now. It's 20 seconds per pick, especially sort of towards those later rounds. You're going to see it go even quicker. McCaffrey goes off the board number 1 overall. And as we stand today at the beginning of May, that should be the case in every single person's draft. You can see Saquon going off the board at number 2. That is exactly what my rankings are right now. I'll have my rankings up pretty shortly in an area where everybody can be able to actually get them and play through those rankings and use them if you want to. I'll add more updates about that as we go. So let's see, athlete on the clock at number 3 here. You have Zeke on the board, Michael Thomas, and Dalvin Cook. Before I go, he takes Zeke, which unfortunately was where I would have went, but I'll go ahead and I'll take Dalvin Cook here. I'll get the running backs in any format, whether it's dynasty, season long, redraft, or if it is best ball, they're going to be so much more important in my opinion. Yes, Michael Thomas last year had an unbelievable season in terms of he put up RB1 production, and he goes 6th off the board there, right behind his teammate who went 5th actually to CJ Long and Alvin Kamara. But I will just go normally to running backs. You're going to see running backs be able to put up the 20 to 25 plus point upside much more consistently than a wide receiver. I know, again, Michael Thomas has broken that the last few seasons here, but I'd rather rely on that running back consistency that we have a larger sample on than the receivers. Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams going off the board back-to-back in the first round. I do believe that that's where it gets to. And now this is where it gets interesting. Derrick Henry's on the board. I don't want to be taking him in best ball, to be honest with you, because I think there's going to be weeks where the Titans go down big and he's going to have like 70 rushing yards and maybe doesn't find the end zone, and he doesn't have the receiving game to bail him out. DeAndre Hopkins goes off the board at number 8 there. So as we come back around, it's going to be interesting to see. Julio's still on the board at 9. If Tyreek Hill can drop to me 3 more picks, that looks great. But the one that I'm really looking at right now, Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb standing out a lot for me. It seems like no matter what, I should be able to get to one of them. As Derrick Henry goes at 10, that locks me into one of those 3 players that we were just talking about. Tyreek Hill goes. Ooh, Joe Mixon, come on, fall. Joe Mixon fell to me. Let's go. Joe Mixon falls to me. Nick Chubb goes right ahead of me, but so far, I feel really good. Joe Mixon is my number 6 running back overall right now. I have him as a top 10 fantasy pick for the 2020 season. So Joe Mixon right now, as well as on my team, we have Joe Mixon and we have Dalvin Cook. So I think they're 2 top 6 running backs, borderline top 5 running backs on my team. I like that pick by Nate KL to go to Josh Jacobs there with the 15th overall pick. Travis Kelce, first tight end off the board at 16. Not a terrible idea when you're playing in these types of formats. All right, so I just picked again. My 3rd pick now was Chris Godwin in this draft. So I feel really good about the start. Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, and now Chris Godwin. I feel really strong about this. I should mention that this is an 8-person league. If you want to get into the next one, shooting for some 12-person leagues would be great. We filled this one pretty short notice, so 8-person league here. You can see now George Kittle, the 2nd tight end off the board. Right after me went Austin Eckler. So I did go with Chris Godwin because I haven't had a wide receiver yet, but I don't hate the idea of loading up on running backs. I only have to roster 2 running backs in this actual league, so I'm not terribly against getting to more because just more shots at it, but I'm fine getting to my number 1 receiver there in Godwin, who I have right now as a top 6 wide receiver this season. Kenny Golladay goes off the board. DJ Moore, I like those. Mahomes, the first quarterback to go off the board, and I think I might be able to do this. And look at that. There you go. That looks actually pretty good there. Yeah, so here we go. I'm on the board right now. And let's see who we have left. Odell is still on the board there. You can see that there's some running backs. Some interesting options down here. Not a lot terribly stands out to me. I'm going to probably end up going with, I'll go with Todd Gurley there as my 4th pick overall in this draft. Interesting. There were some names at the wide receiver position, but I think they'll fall. I'm not too worried about getting to Odell yet. I'm definitely not worried about getting to a tight end or a quarterback yet, in my personal opinion. So you can say A.J. Brown goes off the board after me. That's one spot that I was looking at. So I have 3 running backs now. I want to load up as much as I can. The reason that I do like Gurley more so than I probably would have a week ago, Atlanta didn't draft anybody. It had no draft picks at all at the running back position. They're fully committed on a 1-year deal to just say, hey man, we gave you 1 year's worth of money. Just go and play 80 to 90% of the snaps or as much as you possibly can. I'm back on the clock right now. I want nothing to do with Mark Ingram. Wide receiver position, there's a lot of interesting names out here right now. Courtland Sutton, the one who's probably standing out the most to me personally, I'm going to end up going to Courtland Sutton. Now you might be saying, oh, you took Courtland Sutton over Keenan Allen, over even some other wide receivers out here on the board. You can see Adam Thielen, Devontae Parker, DJ Shark, T.Y. Hilton. I think he's very similar to a lot of those players, but the reason I like him, yeah, they got Jerry Jeudy. Yeah, they got KJ Hamler. One, I don't know how Hamler's going to get into this offense all that much. Hamler is a slot receiver just like Jerry Jeudy, and Jeudy complements, if anything, a Courtland Sutton. Less double teams for him. The biggest question for me is not the other mouths there. It is, what does Drew Lock do in this season? Well, he's got a ton of weapons. We're going to get to see what he can actually do. We'll go over my overall lineup at the end of this, but right now you can see I'm starting off with 3 running backs and 2 receivers, and I do like where I sit so far. You can see my lineup on the right side. Dalvin Cook, Mixon at running back, and Todd Gurley as a reserve running back in the flex right now. Sutton and Godwin as my wide receivers. I might start to look at tight end since this is a smaller league and you can snag some really elite ones and really load up at that position, but not yet, at least not yet where we currently sit. Loads of wide receivers still on the board, 3 picks away as the rookie running backs start to come off the board, Jonathan Taylor and Swift. I was actually looking at them and looking very closely at them before that happened. I want to see, is Clyde in this player pool still? He is, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take myself a Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire drops to being the 3rd rookie running back off the board in this one, even though he was the only rookie running back taken in the first round of the NFL draft, and in my opinion has the best role. I currently have Clyde Edwards-Helaire as the either number 15 or 16 running back. He's a top 15 running back, I believe, in my rankings, way ahead of Jonathan Taylor, way ahead of DeAndre Swift. So very shocked to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire still on the board there. That makes me, I would have taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire at my previous pick. I thought he was already off the board. Yeah, I like the way this is falling to me right now. 4 running backs, 2 receivers. I'm going to keep loading up. I'm going to get another wide receiver. The tight ends right now, there's still a couple of good ones. Wide receivers have great options. Calvin Ridley's here. Robert Woods is here. You can see on there Terry McLaurin. I'm going to go with Calvin Ridley here, and we're starting to really settle down into a really strong lineup, in my opinion. We can compare the whole thing at the end, but for my 6th and 7th pick to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my 4th running back and Calvin Ridley as my 3rd receiver at my 7th pick in a best ball league. I know it's 8 people, but feeling good about that. Let me know in the comments down below. Who would you rather have this year? That pick that I just had to choose between. Robert Woods went right after me. Would you rather have Calvin Ridley in a PPR or Robert Woods? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to know what you all think of that one. If you're interested in where I'm playing right now, it's drafters.com. You can see the promo code below. If you use the code SAL100, you'll get a 100% deposit match. So you put $10 in, they'll give you $10 back, all the way up to $50. So you can check that out. But this is where I'm going to be running a lot of these leagues, these best ball leagues, these mock drafts heading into the season. So be sure if you want to get in on these. These are all viewers. These are all people that watch, people that I've become friends with through the content. So if you want to get in on them, just let me know. Let's see where we're at right now. Still some names on the board. Melvin Gordon's still on the board. I don't want Marlon Mack or Kerryon or any of these guys. I think I might go with Kyler Murray here. I might pull the trigger on a quarterback at this point, and I think I'm going to. All right, so I'm on the pick next. I just took Kyler Murray on my last pick, so I feel good about that. I feel like he is a probably top 5 quarterback this season. I think with the additions in Dallas in the draft, Dak goes ahead of him, but still borderline top 5. Now we have tight end usage that we can start to get into. There's still wide receivers on the board that I think have some upside with Debo out there. I think I'm going to snag Evan Ingram here. I've been snagging Evan Ingram a lot, and I see still another name in Hayden Hurst on the board that is appealing to me. I've been snagging Evan Ingram a lot. He's like that guy in the middle tier rounds where if you don't get him, now you're starting to wait on Tyler Higbee's, Jack Doyle's, Noah Fant's. And I think they're all fine as well. But I think Evan Ingram at least has that top 3 tight end ceiling in him when I don't think the other ones do. Now, the biggest thing is that Evan Ingram's just undersized. So when he goes over the middle of the field, he is at risk for injuries against these bigger and faster DBs and linebackers. And we've seen that pretty much every year of his career. But if he can stay healthy, he runs out of the slot a lot as a tight end / wide receiver slot hybrid. And we know Daniel Jones loves targeting the slot, whether it was Golden Tate or Sterling Shepard last season. We got our first tight end. We have 3 receivers. We have 4 running backs. And we got our quarterback. I think now's the time to just load up on best available player on the board at the running back and wide receiver positions. And now these are the times in drafts. You got your stability pieces. Last 8 picks. This is 18 people deep. Shoot for upside, in my opinion. Whether that be guys who are now in full-on roles. So Will Fuller just got picked. I was looking at him for upside, but like on the board right now, Christian Kirk, I don't think has upside. Sterling Shepard, I don't think has upside. Robbie Anderson, I don't think has upside relative to his spot. I do think Deebo Samuel has some upside, so I'll take him. He's a rookie who actually broke out in his first year with an offensive genius who schemed him open. He's great after the catch, not only in college, but in the regular season. And now you have Deebo Samuel going into year 2 with a coach and really being one of the top targets for his team. I'll take that pick in the 10th round. Maybe it's not as much upside as you may think, but I do like that. So I see other people still on the board. There is the idea of stacking in best ball leagues. I do think stacking is completely fine to do. We haven't really been doing that yet so far, but Josh Allen's still on the board as a quarterback 2 option. That's interesting. I don't usually like taking 2 quarterbacks this early, but if they're just going to be screaming my name with Josh Allen here, I might have to consider it. And he just goes off the board, so don't have to consider it anymore. We'll see what we have left at the running back position. Tariq Cohen's still down here. I do like that. Kareem Hunt, I don't mind at all. If there's any injury to Nick Chubb, who's been so durable his first 2 years, Kareem Hunt just becomes a slam dunk option. J.K. Dobbins, I don't think he's going to be that much of a factor this year. Maybe an 8 to 10 touch type of a role per game. Raheem Mostert, the main guy last year, but you never know it this season. Yeah, looking at these running backs, not much stands out right off the top here. You know what? I might go out here and just go for Jerry Jeudy. So we'll go and get Jerry Jeudy in this one. We already have Cortland Sutton, so getting Jerry Jeudy, somewhat of a stack in that Denver team. I don't absolutely hate it because if there are weeks where Jeudy out of the slot produces a 7-8 catch week, finds the end zone, he will be the guy that gets selected for my best ball lineup. So I don't love the landing spot for Jeudy out of the slot. They also took KJ Hamler, not the greatest of quarterbacks, but I also just think his talent in general, who in my opinion behind CeeDee Lamb was the best wide receiver in that draft. I'll take shots on that. And now when I'm 4 more picks until my next turn, there's upside down here in these picks. Now we're in the 12th round. I see a Darius Geis on the board who they want to be the workhorse running back, right? Drafted Antonio Gibson, but for the most part, Antonio Gibson is going to be like a gadget guy. We don't really know for sure. He might just be a wide receiver. He might be a running back. I don't want to speculate too much, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be a 3-down running back based on their needs on offense. Lots of running backs still on the board. Kareem Hunt, Darius Geis, Tariq Cohen even. I like all these guys in options. Looking at the overall draft board right now, compared to the wide receivers, I much prefer the running backs, and we're also short 1 running back after that last pick of Jerry Jeudy. I pick next. They take Rob Gronkowski. Not a terrible option in the 12th round. So between Kareem Hunt and Darius Geis, I do think Geis has the most upside this season. I think Kareem Hunt's offense, especially if Nick Chubb gets hurt, also has a ton of upside. This is a tough pick right now. I'm going to go Darius Geis over Kareem Hunt. That's another one you can put in the comments if you're still watching. Would you have taken Darius Geis or Kareem Hunt there in a best ball format, keeping in mind that you want a little bit of a ceiling there. You want them to have some spike performances this season. I do think Kareem Hunt would be a top 8 running back if Nick Chubb was to get hurt. But I also think that if it all goes as planned with no Chris Thompson there in the running back department, Darius Geis stays healthy. We saw how much of a beast he looked like when he was healthy and got the ball last year. He could easily be a top 10 running back if he just stays healthy and gets the ball out, right? I mean, naturally, if you just stay healthy for 16 games, you're going to push top 15 territory if you're a guy seeing 250 touches or so. Where I do not think that Kareem Hunt will ever come near that. I do think Kareem Hunt can catch 70 balls this year, but he might not see 150 carries. He might be a 200 touch guy at best. And Nick Chubb's durability these last 2 years, starting and playing every single game, has me just kind of second guessing any injury scares there. So one pick back away from me. We're in the 13th of 18 rounds now. I still see Tariq Cohen on the board. That's an interesting name. We have 5 running backs, 5 receivers. Any tight ends that stand out to me? They're all second tier tight ends right now, whether it's Mike Gesicki's or Blake Jarwin's. Carson Wentz is still on the board, and Matt Ryan. I don't feel the need to go there. Yeah, so we can go wide receiver or running back here. Anthony Miller's on the board. I do like that with Cohen. I'm going to go Anthony Miller, actually. So I go Anthony Miller over Tariq Cohen. Same team, similar roles, honestly, short yardage guys. But Miller and Cohen to that extent, but really Miller was a huge winner in the draft. The Bears didn't do anything at the wide receiver position. They have Allen Robinson and a clear number 2 in Anthony Miller, and potentially some finally established quarterback play coming in or somewhat good that can get you the ball downfield in terms of Nick Foles, what seems to be the guy who's going to trend to be the starter. So let's see as this continues to unravel. I want to see if there's any more rookies on the board that we have just missed on. Keyshawn Vaughn's still on the board. He's definitely going to be a guy that I go towards my next pick with. We are 4 picks away. If Keyshawn Vaughn stays on the board, he's my RB6 out of the rookies this year. If you want to get my free rookies sheet, it is in the description below, so be sure to check that out. Keyshawn Vaughn going to Tampa Bay. I think it's a kind of a trap spot for him this year, right? Ronald Jones is not good, but he's still there. Keyshawn Vaughn can pass, protect, and catch, so that's interesting. But they also have another running back who's a pass catcher running back in Ogunbowale. It's not a sure thing. Keyshawn Vaughn might be a guy who catches 50, 60 balls, but only has 50, 60 rushing attempts at most. So it's not a surefire thing. He's nowhere near being picked right now. I'll take Keyshawn Vaughn as my 6th running back off the board. I like that. This is where we start shooting for upside. Why would I take, let's look at the running backs. Why would I take Latavius Murray, Jordan Howard, Jamal Williams, Alexander Henry, right? All these guys that I kind of know what their upside is. Like Jordan Howard is actually an interesting one. He stands out like a sore thumb down here. But most of these guys are backups who you know what you're going to get from them. You're going to get a 6 to 8 touch role at best, whereas a guy like Keyshawn Vaughn could break into a 12 to 14 to 15 touch guy, or at the very least, a pass catching threat like a James White. So maybe he only has 7 touches, but they're all receptions. 7 catch, 40, 50-yard day. So that's where the upside comes in. I feel good about where we are right there. We have 4 rounds left right now, and I'm going to start to snag backup quarterbacks and tight ends. I do like Joe Burrow on the board. Baker's still on the board there is interesting to me. Let's see what we can do here. We have Baker, we have Joe Burrow. Baker's offense, I'm going to have to go with him. They had the 29th ranked offensive line in the running blocking department last year. They were bottom 5 overall. And then they go out and they get Jack Conklin, and then they sign Jedrick Wilson's number 10 overall pick in the draft. If Baker cannot get it done this year, they also get him Austin Hooper. They also get him Andy Janovich, a fullback, a good blocking fullback. If Baker can't get it done this year, he is absolutely done in Cleveland, in my opinion. I'll take the risk on him in best ball formats because I think that offense, although it was overhyped last year, I think it actually has the potential to be a top 5 offense now that they have some offensive line help. We have 3 rounds left. Let's go get a backup tight end. We don't really need to force this right now, but Jonnu Smith's a starting tight end. So is Blake Jarwin. Dallas Goedert is virtually a starting tight end. So there's some pass catchers down here. After they go off the board, though, you're really shooting your shot. Like Chris Herndon's not a terrible option if he's healthy. Neither is Eric Ebron, although probably a limited role. Greg Olsen down here is not the type of guy I want to be getting in best ball leagues for your 50-yard day at best out of him at this time in his career. But let's start to look still at the running backs and any other receivers down here. I want to see if Rieger is still on the board. Jalen Rieger, he has been drafted. Let's see if Jefferson is still on the board. I assume he has been drafted out of Minnesota. Justin Jefferson is still on the board. So this is a spot where I'll go for the upside here. I'm 1 pick away. Hopefully Justin Jefferson does not get picked. He does not. So Justin Jefferson, although mainly a slot wide receiver while in college at LSU and had a ton of accurate balls thrown his way because of Joe Burrow, he gets an accurate quarterback in Kirk Cousins, but he's not going to have the ability to sit there and play out of the slot nonstop because they run a ton of 2 wide receiver and 2 tight end sets. So he'll be forced to the outside. That's the risk with Justin Jefferson, but I do think it's worth taking. So you can see right here, there's still 2 rounds left in this draft. I need a backup tight end. I need a defense. So Tariq Cohen went off the board after I picked Jefferson. So that makes me feel a little bit better. At least he got drafted because I wouldn't have the ability to pick him up otherwise because I still need my backup tight end, and apparently we're going to be needing a defense in this league. Let's see what I can do here. I can snag a running back, apparently still. Not much stands out. Like Boston Scott as a backup if you want to go there. I'm going to run out of time here, but I'm okay with that. We can look at Matt Breida, actually, and I can snag him. Alrighty, so the final rounds of that one ended up, we just had to pretty much auto pick a defense. I took the Buffalo Bills, and then I ended up actually going with my second to last pick with Joe Burrow instead of another running back depth, instead of a 7th running back. I just took 6 running backs in the draft. I ended up going to Joe Burrow as my 3rd quarterback, so you can see just some quarterback options that I do have up here. Starting quarterback options are going to be, it's just a 1 quarterback league, I believe. So it's just Baker, Kyler Murray. Kyler, I expect to be my main guy, but also Joe Burrow. Like, I think he comes into the league. Andy Dalton was just released as an automatic top 20 quarterback in this offense, or at least it should profile that way. So the offensive line is going to be the biggest question for him. They should be getting a little bit healthier this season. Running backs, I feel good about. We have our sure thing running backs, we would think, in Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook. We have our upside running backs in Darius Geis if he can stay healthy. We have our potential upside guy. If Todd Gurley is 80%, 90% of his normal self, they have no running back depth in Atlanta right now. Todd Gurley potentially has upside. And in best ball formats, I would say that this is an upside spot for Todd Gurley. Running back depth pieces, the 2 rookies, Keyshawn Vaughn and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They're probably the 2 guys that have the most actual hype around them right now. Edwards-Helaire is a 1st-round pick for good purposes, and Keyshawn Vaughn being in that Tampa Bay Tom Brady check down offense for also good purposes, and he fits the build there. So I feel really strong about the running backs we got, especially when we got those rookies. You can see our first wide receivers off the board start to be Chris Godwin early on. I feel good about that. We got Cortland Sutton and Calvin Ridley as a sort of our main 3. And then the upside in Deebo Samuel, the upside in Anthony Miller, I do think is there. And then we got the 2 rookies, Justin Jefferson and Jerry Jeudy. I feel really good about them, taking them so late in the draft, especially Justin Jefferson. So we get some youth there at pretty much every position. Rookie quarterback in Joe Burrow, the 2 rookie running backs, the 2 rookie receivers. And then we get down to defense, which to me doesn't really matter too much in my normal leagues. I probably won't have a defense. But then Evan Ingram is our tight end. And the one mistake I will say is that earlier I skipped to one part. It like froze on my screen. My screen was like buffering. And it ended up auto picking. I forgot who it was for me. I think it might have been Joe Burrow late in the draft. I was trying to go for a backup tight end there, trying to get like a Jonnu Smith, but I got Joe Burrow instead. So the downside now is that if Evan Ingram, which he normally gets hurt, actually gets hurt here, there's nobody for me to replace him with, which is the biggest concern. So feel good about this draft for an 8-man league. Obviously, my biggest regret would be the fact that my computer buffered and I couldn't take a backup tight end. And now I'm really solely relying on Evan Ingram to go out there. Even if it's a season where Evan Ingram like does decent for you, you're still in a spot where what if it's the week where he has 4 fantasy points? Like, you're screwed in those weeks. So I don't want to ever have that. I always like to leave the draft with at least 2 people from each position, if not 3, depending on how deep your bench is. Like 18-man benches is a short league, believe it or not, or 18-man rosters. A lot of them will go like 24, 25 plus. That's when you can start to have like 4 tight ends on your roster once it starts hitting 30. But this is where we're at right now. This was an 8-man best ball PPR format league with 2 flex spots, 18-man benches or 18-person rosters. If you want to get into one of these, let me know. I'll start to put the links down below. I'll start to talk about them. I usually post them on Twitter in the Discord, so you can find the link to the Discord over on Patreon. That's the link down below. You can find my Twitter on the screen right below me right now at Sal Vetri DFS. We'll get this one up, so a little bit of a mock draft action with the first one with the rookies, and we ended up with a lot of them. So this is the thing that I'm saying. Early on, you're going to be playing with people who have no idea who the rookies are, or at least not a good idea as we do, as you, somebody watching this. And if you don't, check out my must-own rookies, my must-own first-round picks. I have the running backs, the wide receivers. All those videos are already up there, but I ended up getting away with number 1 rookie and the number 6 rookie in the draft, I think. And then I ended up getting away with 2 like top 3 or 4 rookie wide receivers for this specific year and the number 1 rookie quarterback. Now, I think there was a little bit of luck there involved too, as well as where they ranked in drafters format, but this is why you draft early. If you're actually drafting and you can put money on the line on drafters, go ahead, get your 100% deposit match. If you enter a $20 league right now, you will probably have one of the best percentages of actually winning that league than you ever will when you start to draft 2 or 3 months from now when everybody in the league knows what's going on. You draft right now and people that are in it don't really know as much. They just want to draft for fun. You are going to smack them and take their money 10 out of 10 times. So be sure to get into these leagues over on drafters.com. Promo code SAL100 for a 100% deposit match up to $50. Appreciate you all tuning into this one. My name is Sal Vetri. I will see you all in the next one.